Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Son of Bat, and joined again by Son of Phantom. Today we're going to talk about Friday the 13th, Part 3. Not in 3D, because we tried to do that, and it just wasn't working. And if I did watch it in 3D, I guarantee you it probably would have gotten a 0, and that really wouldn't have been fair. It's a Friday the 13th movie, folks. I don't know what else to say about it. Directed by Steve Miner, who also directed and produced the Part 2. Written by Martin Kurtzahner and Carol Watson, based on characters by Victor Miller and Ron Kurz, produced by Frank Mancuso Jr., starring Dana Kimmel, Paul Kratta, and Richard Brooker, cinematography by Gerald Philly, edited by George Hively, music again by Harry Manfredini and Michael Zager, production company Jason Inc., distributed by Paramount Pictures and released on August 13th, 1982, on a budget of $2.2 million with a box office return of $36.7 million. So, like the one before, it definitely made its money back. But is it worth your time, and is it one of the good Friday the 13th in this series? Phantom, what did you think of this movie, and what did you think of Jason's debut with the hockey mask?
Honestly, to call it, it's just such a disappointment of a movie. I was very underwhelmed the whole time, and yeah, it's just not the best. Definitely not the best in the series, and it's just so, and all the violence is cut. It just feels like they're trying to make a PG-13 movie out of a fucking slasher, and it just doesn't make, it's just weird. I don't know.
Well, it's actually funny you say PG-13 because that comes up very blatantly later in the series, at least in my opinion, with Part 6. But you're right. The kills in this, for a deluxe edition DVD, this was the first deluxe edition DVD I ever picked up, and I think I did it just for the 3D because I knew about how this was filmed on 3D and how it would have probably just been better instead of seeing it in 2D. But yeah, no, the gore was disappointing. The 3D was really disappointing. And every time I've seen this movie up until today, and actually I think one other time before that, I've seen it in 2D. But every time I've seen it in 3D, it just makes me feel sick. My eyes hurt, and it's shitty because there's
tried to watch it in 3D, and it just didn't work at all. Being colorblind, tritanopia, just it totally stops you from being able to see red and blue 3D. Can't see blue. Can't see 3D. Just only headache. That was crazy. Oh, fuck that. Fuck those glasses.
Oh. See, the DVD came with a pair of 3D glasses that are pretty cool as like a collector piece because they have Jason print on them. But yeah, this movie, if you'd want to watch it and actually take it in as a movie, I'd go with the 2D part. 3D is pretty cool as a novelty, to check out at least once, but it's not worth it on the strain of your eyes, and you probably wouldn't get through the whole thing. But there's only really 4 or 5 things that actually looked good in 3D from what I remember, and that was, of all things, a stick holding up a laundry line at the beginning of the movie. I believe the yo-yo was done pretty decently, but it's all stupid shit. You can tell with this movie, what scenes were lined up for 3D, even when you're watching the 2D cut. And I think that takes away a lot from the movie because instead of making, a good slasher movie, a good franchise movie, they just tried to focus on a gimmick, and it falls flat because of it. We're going to give a brief rundown of the plot, but this is such a bare bones type of plot anyway that it doesn't really matter if we go into detail too much. The main thing about it is it takes place a day after Part 2. So like I said in the last video, this Part 2 and Part 4 all take place in the span of a weekend, which is pretty nuts. I believe this came out a year after the fucking second movie. So yeah, really quickly, and you can tell it was made really quickly and with not much care because Steve Miner just jumped right into it. Again, we got a 10-minute recap of the second movie, which they could have condensed to 5 minutes or less. But then we get 2 people killed at a gas station store, and then we get introduced to all of our cast of characters: 2 stoners, a jock, his pregnant girlfriend, a girl who's had an experience with Crystal Lake, and Shelly. What did you think of Shelly, man? Because every one of these movies has a comedian and a prankster. What did you think of this guy? Because I fucking couldn't stand him, man.
Oh man, just such a sad case. What a sad character to be. You want to, this guy just looks
Jonah
like
Hill
shit.
looking motherfucker.
He looks like shit, and then he acts shitty too. Just his whole persona is just these fucking stupid pranks.
And then he's
that
just
suck.
like, why does
Like-
everyone hate me? And it's like you're pretending to like die and like kill people and shit. Like your pranks aren't even funny. Everyone clearly hates them. And then you have the audacity to be like, oh, why does nobody want to chill with me? Why does nobody want to fuck me? It's like, because you're like a fucking asshole, bro. Like he was such an unlikable piece of shit. When he died, it was like actually really funny, but we'll get into that later. Essentially, they go up to this lake house. The main girl, again, all these people, like, man, like their name, like I think it was Debbie, but then again, I honestly don't even remember. Oh, no, it was Chris. Anyway, sorry. All these people are so generic. They're basically just stereotypes. It doesn't help that, like, you know, going into this, I knew it wasn't a very good movie, so I wasn't really zoned in. But anyway, so Chris...
There's absolutely, like, no character development for these guys either. Like, we don't really, like... I don't really care about any of them at all. Like, even like seeing the first movie, seeing the second, like, it's just... It doesn't matter. Like, I know the person like the girl, whatever her name is, unforgettable girl that screams really annoyingly.
Chris.
Okay,
the main Carol, yeah.
Oh my god. Can't stand her. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the only guy who had a memorable name in this was fucking Shelly, and that's because he was such a shit disturber. like, and that's not even a good thing. But basically, Chris goes and gets this cabin because there's a guy that she used to live out at Crystal Lake, but a bad experience happened, so she had to move away, and she's trying to go rekindle her relationship with this douchebag fucking guy who's getting really handsy with her, and then he's like, I don't understand why you're putting up this barrier. And it's like, dude, you've seen her for like 2 minutes, my guy, and you're already trying to get it in. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, everyone here was just such a fucking piece of shit. Like, the stoners weren't bad, like they were kind of funny, but like they were just pussies. Vera, the girl Vera, who we thought was gonna be the final girl. She's like this Hispanic woman, and they go to like bro. There's such like wild racism in this movie, and it was like she didn't even look that Hispanic. She looks pretty white, and they're just there, and it's like they go to get her, and you're like, oh, can we get Vera? And her mom's like, no, she is not coming. And then we just hear like foreign screaming, and everyone's like, what are they saying? And it's like, I don't know, I flunked Spanish. And then she comes out like nothing happened, and she's like, all right, I'm good to go, let's do this. And then later they go to the convenience store, like, oh yeah, typical Spanish rage, whatever. And then they go to the convenience store, her and Shelly, after he fucking does one of these pranks and pisses everyone off. And the first thing the lady at the grocery store says to her is, we don't take any food stamps. And I was like, whoa, like, god damn, man. Like, shit.
Wrecked. Instantly wrecked.
From there on out, we're introduced to a clan of like Michael Jackson beat it rejects fucking bikers that show up, and they're like just starting shit for no reason with Shelly and Vera. And then this turns into a scuffle that gets really escalated. Shelly makes a huge situation like even worse. They go back to Crystal Lake to brag, but then, you know, the car is smashed up. The bikers follow their way through, and at first I thought they were going to siphon the gas, but then they plan to burn the barn down. They all get murdered by Jason in various fucking stabby ways that aren't that great, to be honest, pretty bloodless. And for the rest of the movie, we're just getting typical one-by-one kills that, if I'm going to be honest, weren't that great. Aside from
dragged on long. It could be this movie could be like an hour 25.
Dude, fucking
be better.
Yeah,
scarier.
Part 2 was like an hour and 20 minutes, and they fucked up because the first 20 minutes were like a recap of the first movie. And I'm like, dude, there's just so horrible pacing in this. The only good death I will give to this was Andy, the guy doing the handstand the whole time. This guy walks around, and spoiler alert, he walks around in a handstand and catches a fucking machete straight down to the fucking stomach. And like that was the best death in the movie.
Uncomfortable feeling all around, bro. That was a fucked up one.
I mean, yeah, and then there's a clear homage to Kevin Bacon's death in the first movie when the pregnant chick, and this can count as a twofer. We actually looked into it. This movie has about 12 deaths, but 13 if you count the unborn child. And you know for a fact here at the Snake Pit we counted the unborn child, so 13 kills in this movie. Her death was pretty brutal too, but it could have been more brutal. She could have had blood splatter on her face, but they toned it down. But she gets the Kevin Bacon with a machete blade through the chest while she's in a hammock, and it's pretty funny because I pointed out she was reading a Fangoria magazine, and they happened to be on a page about Tom Savini, the guy they should have got to do the effects for this movie, because oh man, like he comes back in the next movie and I'm hyped for that, but goddamn, these two movies without his assistance, it really shows
fucking weak.
Yeah, it's weak. Oh, Vera gets shot in the face with a spear gun too. When
that was a pretty good one. That was one. There's two. Yeah, those two I liked.
Dude, Shelly, he like he scares the shit out of her at the lake, and then she's like, oh well, why didn't you want to fuck me? And it's like, I don't know, you just came out of the lake and just grabbed the chick, bro. What's wrong with you? And like, You don't see what happens to Shelley, but we find out he dies because when the stoners go to check a circuit breaker, he stumbles through a doorway with a slit throat. And because he pranked like this before, like the stoner chick's just like thinks he's being an asshole, and she doesn't even check. She's like, "Oh, stop fucking
He
around."
just bleeds out right there. Like 20 seconds.
That was pretty satisfying. I'm not gonna lie. That made the movie a little bit more enjoyable. But yeah, the movie pretty much finishes like, oh yeah, the Chris's boyfriend, douchebag guy, I can't remember his name. He gets his head squeezed so hard his eyeball pops through his head, which another 3D
and then
kill.
one guy the jock guy.
He got the blade, the machete through the legs to the stomach.
Okay, like the other boyfriend, like the weird guy.
The stoner?
No, like the fucking tall big guy.
Oh yeah, he got his head squeezed and his eyeball flew out. Jason grabbed him when he was like trying to signal for him.
And he got fucking thrown through that window, yeah.
Yeah.
That was alright.
Yeah, that was alright. Yeah. But again, that's another thing with the 3D, that like why filming a movie around a gimmick can be really fucking dumb. Like, I mean, in the movie Popcorn that we talked about, those are some cool gimmicks that worked in the theater. But as an at-home experience, I mean, like, imagine seeing this in theaters with your friends and shit. It could be like in 1982, it could be pretty fun. But like, it's just like these shots that were set up for 3D, they don't work. And when you watch it in a 2D setting, it's like, yo, like, this is shit, man. You sacrificed like good effects and a good plot just to like fit a stupid fad that wasn't even that popular that long. Because I think in the 80s there was three.
The technology for 3D wasn't that advanced back then, so they couldn't do it in like the cool parts where it should be 3D. We wanted it to be 3D. It was just like weird gimmick pieces, like at random points in the movie. It's like, oh, stick here. Fucking a spear
antenna
going through girls' chest here, and it's like, okay, cool.
See, and the thing is too, this like should be a fucking giveaway. In the 80s, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, you know, correct me in the comments if I am. I'm pretty sure there was only 3 3D movies released in the 80s around this time. You had the Amityville 3, which was shit. You had fucking Jaws 3, which was shit, and you have Friday the 13th Part 3, which is shit. And honestly, I feel like I'm glad they stepped their game up with 4, because this movie was just a fucking mess. It was really boring, though. Like, the ending took forever, like all these movies. They just drag on, and it pretty much concludes with our final girl waking up in a canoe, just like in Part 1, to be greeted by the decomposed, rotting body of Jason's mom. There was a lot of homages to Part 1 in this. I don't know if they thought this was going to be the last one, and they wanted to end with a lot of parallels, but I rewatching this, I hate this movie. Like, this is probably my least favorite in the franchise. Phantom, what do you think of this movie, and what would you rate it? Would you recommend it? Like, ugh.
Honestly, what I have to really say about this movie is I'm just glad that I don't ever have to see it again. Because it was a snooze fest from fucking start to finish. I don't know. It was just boring. And now I have to just smoke it out of my memory. It's terrible. Fuck, man.
Get the 10-foot bongs like the 2 hippies in the back of the van and fry your brain cells so you don't remember it anymore.
Exactly. Like, rating, like, it's not like the worst movie I've ever seen. I'd probably give it like a 3.5. I don't know. Some of it was okay. But no rewatchability, no character development. There's not, like, the acting was honestly mid. Like,
Jason did get his hockey mask though, so
I just don't really. I don't give a fuck, dog. I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you gotta watch it to, you know, complete the series if you're watching the series. But other than that, man, just
watch something else.
It's mid. It's fucking mid.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna fucking go off with that. I think you gave it a more generous rating. It's probably because I have a history with seeing this movie more times than I actually should have. But Friday the 13th, I mean, it came out in 1982. You had shit like The Thing. You had Tenebrae. You had fucking Halloween 3. Like, you had so much shit. You had Creepshow, for Christ's sakes. The amount of things you could have seen in 1982 that would have been way better and left a way better impression. It's just, yeah, this movie is nothing, man. Like, it's like, yeah, Jason got the hockey mask, whatever, like, that's cool, but this movie is like insufferable. Like, it's like, I don't think Steve Miner is a very good director, to be honest. Like, he did this, he did Part 2, he did Warlock, which I'm not a huge fan of, he did House, which is okay, but it's still really goofy. I think the only thing he did that I actually liked was Lake Placid, but even that's not even a horror movie. That's like a comedy monster movie. But yeah, this movie, man, like, I'm probably gonna have to give it about like a 2. I was gonna, I thought it was gonna get it 2 when I watched it. If we watched it in 3D, but I was like, no, like that first 2 minutes was just insufferable, and I feel like I would have been sick by the end of it. In which case, it would have gotten a 0. But yeah, I'm giving this a solid 2. If you're someone who collects horror DVDs or you're a franchise completionist, that's really the only value you're getting here to complete the story. Other than that, like, it's a generic slasher, and like I said, if you're going through the decades or the years of horror movies, there's so many better ones you could be watching. Like Friday the 13th 4, for example, which we'll get to soon. I don't know how soon, but soon, is fucking amazing. And the fact that it took 4 movies for them to hit the formula of like borderline perfection is insane, because like part 2, this was just a long chore to get through. The gore wasn't all that great, and unlike part 2, this was the deluxe edition, so I don't know why they skimped on the gore, but goddamn, man, this movie, it didn't have really anything going for it. It was just a generic slasher movie, and there's nothing more I can say about it. Don't recommend this one. You can do a lot better. Hopefully from part 4 onward it starts getting good, because so far I've been taking a pretty big shit on this series, and I know a lot of the purists must be fucking fuming, but hey, man, that's what keeps these reviews good. It keeps them different, yo.
Gotta stay honest out here.
Hell yeah, man. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you with the next one. Peace.